Well, hello and good afternoon, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started. I'm Stephanie Stevens, and I serve as the Assistant Director of Admissions at TWU. And I want to first thank you for joining us today. We're so glad that you're here with us. I kindly ask that you keep your microphones muted and your cameras off during the presentations. You may ask your questions through our chat feature, and we have several people available to respond to your questions. We also plan to stay for a few minutes at the end of the presentation. Our presenters today are from our CARE office, which includes commuter services. Amy O'Keefe serves as the executive director, and Jessica Birchfield serves as associate director. And Amy is going to get us started with the presentation. So Amy, I will turn this over to you now.
Hi, Stephanie. Thank you for that warm introduction. And hello, everybody out there all across Texas and beyond. We're so excited to be chatting with you this afternoon. And we can't wait for the day that we get to have this conversation with you in person, which we hope won't be too much longer. So as Stephanie said, I'm Amy O'Keefe. I'm the Executive Director for CARE, and it's such a privilege to be joining all of you today. So a little bit about what we're going to be talking about, and then a little bit about us. So the CARE office, as Stephanie mentioned, serves students who may be living off campus. So in other words, if you're not going to be living in university housing, this is the session for you. So you might be thinking, well, I'm not sure where I'm going to live. I might be on campus, I might not. Go ahead and hang in with us, because I think we'll provide some information that will help you with that decision. So as I said, my name is Amy. I've been at TWU almost 16 years. I actually grew up in the Midwest. I don't know if you can tell by my accent. Here, I'll give you a clue. Ready? Y'all. That's pretty obvious that I did not grow up in Texas. But I got here as quick as I could. I came to Texas specifically for Texas Women's University. So although I earned both of my degrees in the Midwest, I'm so happy to be part of the Pioneer team. And speaking of team, joining me today is my partner in crime, Jessica. So Jessica, unlike myself, is a Texas native, and she earned both her bachelor's and master's at Texas Women's. So I'm super happy to have her on our team. And she's been at TWU as well for about 15 years. So between us, we have a whole lot of love for this institution, and we can't wait to share with you why we're excited about TWU, and as an off-campus student, some things you might not know that we hope we will enlighten you with. But before I get to any of that, I have a question for all of you. So if you'll go over to the chat box and type in, I'd like to know a little bit more about who's in our audience today. If you can let me know, if you'll just type in if you're going to be a freshman or a transfer student or a graduate student. That will help us know who is in the audience today. Let's see if I can move my chat box so I can see it easier. So Jessica, I don't know why, but I'm having a hard time seeing the chat. Can you share with me what our audience looks like?
So we have a good mix, mostly transfer and a few first-year students.
Perfect. Well, welcome everybody. That's exactly who we were hoping to have today. So that's perfect. Don't you love when you ask a question and get the answer that you want? I love that. So welcome first-year students and transfers. We're happy to have you with us. So a little bit more about us. Jessica, if you'll get to click to the next slide. Thank you. So we are called the CARE office. One of our primary foci is off-campus students. So you can easily find us on social, on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, all under TWU Off Campus. If you're on the university's website, which we're going to show you in the next slide, this is the university's website. You'll see our full name is CARE, which it's a mouthful. It stands for Campus Alliance for Resource Education. The important thing to remember about that is that we care about you, our commuter students. And so that's an easy way to find us at the end of this presentation if you have any questions. So I like to show this part of our website because it's a really good overview of all the different ways we might be able to help you. There's some topics that a lot of students who don't live on campus, that are kind of common questions people have. For example, can you help me find a place to live off campus? Or when I'm on campus, what are my eating choices? Or you might have questions about, well, what about transportation in and around Denton? And especially if you're a transfer student, it seems likely you have questions about parking, because that's a popular topic. So we'll definitely be addressing all of those. But there's also something, and on top of all of that, that our office does, which is we provide wraparound services for students. So you might be thinking, okay, well, what's a wraparound service? That sounds like something, you wrap around eggs with a tortilla to make some kind of burrito or something. No, we don't do that. But what we do is we help students who might be having a particular issue and they're not sure who to turn to. So how we do that is we provide one-on-one individual help. So for example, maybe you're a new parent and you're trying to figure out childcare. We would be a good resource for you for helping to find childcare. Or maybe you have questions about your financial aid and you're really worried about how you're going to pay rent. We're a good office to help with those sorts of questions too. So that's just kind of a little snapshot of the different topics we're going to be covering this morning. But the main thing I want to convey to you is how happy we are that you have your interest in Texas Women's University, and that at the end of this presentation, if you have any questions that come up later, feel free just to go to their website, Google CARE, and you'll find us. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jessica to talk about off-campus housing.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming. I love that Amy and I have been at Texas Women's for almost as long as each other, even though we didn't know each other until 10 years ago. So I'm glad that we have our paths have crossed and we're here with all of you today. So we're going to start talking about a few of the services that we provide with off-campus housing. And so we want to start with a little question. So if you can put in the chat box, how many of you are planning on moving to be a student here at Texas Women's? Oh, I'm seeing nothing. So everybody's staying where they are. Good. Oh, okay, great. Lisa, you are moving. Perfect. Okay, well then we're going to talk a few little housekeeping tips with living off campus. Okay, so for my first year students that we're talking, I want you to know that all of what we're about to cover is going to be part of your orientation whenever you come here to campus. So if you don't get everything that I'm saying right now, no big deal. We'll go over it more in depth during the orientation process. But for all of my transfer students, let's just spend just a moment on all of this. So for all of you who are transferring in, if you are coming in with less than 60 credit hours, or you are under the age of 21, then you need to complete this form in order to not have to worry about this causing any issues when it comes time for you to register for classes. So it's just called a Certification of Living with Parent or Legal Guardian form. It's located on the housing website. And one of the cool things about this is that if you do it correctly, you only have to do it once a year. And so there is a checkbox on there that you will do in order to do that. And this is what it looks like. This little piece right here is what you need to do to make sure that you only have to do this once a year until you reach that residency requirement. So if any of you have questions about that, please feel free to put that in the chat box. It's just a little piece that you need to know to kind of move forward with all of this. And there you go with all of that. The other piece is that we have an off-campus housing website that is through a third-party organization. It's called Off-Campus Housing and Roommate Match. This is the URL in order to get to that. The cool part about this is that there are some really awesome filter options for students within this. So if you're looking for specific amenities or there are things that are priorities for you whenever it comes to housing, it can kind of help you move through all of those. And then it also has an opportunity to use a roommate finder to help build a profile and find others who are looking for the same things as you. And the other really cool piece is the resources tab within this. And I've seen that come alive quite a bit in the last few weeks, if you know what I mean. And I think that this would be a good place to navigate and see what resources are out there whenever it comes to being a tenant in off-campus housing. So I see a question about after we complete that document, who do we send it to? You send it to the housing office, and that is all on the housing website on how to complete that, Clarissa. Okay. And then we're going to talk about the next most important thing, which is food. All right. So let's just take a break, and I want to ask another question. Is everybody ready? All right. On a scale of 1 to 5, I need you to be real with us all and tell us how much of your day is spent eating, 5 being the greatest. Oh, yeah. I feel that. I especially feel that. I feel like my snack times have gradually increased as I have been home. So that's well and good, and we will all be ready to go whenever the semester starts and we can be back on campus. And let me tell you a little bit about all of that whenever it comes to eating. So our population at Texas Women's University is primarily commuter students. And I'm sorry, y'all, my dog is running around. He's apparently interested in other things. So he's just gonna be back there. It is what it is. So we have a variety of places for students to be able to pack a lunch and put it in a refrigerator or a microwave. They're called commuter lounges, and they're located all across campus. One of the largest ones is in our new student union in Hubbard Hall. But then in addition to that, we have a variety of places that students can eat on campus if you're not going to be packing, but you need something to eat. So one of our newest places is our brand new TWU dining hall, and that is literally brand new, and it's right next to the residence halls across on the Denton campus. And that has a variety of all-you-can-eat options, like a pizza station, pasta station, salad bars, some food allergy specific places. There's a lot of things that you can eat within that, and it's huge. So you can find a little nook to tuck yourself away in and study if you need to while you eat. The other really neat thing is that at all of the places that we have on campus to eat, everyone takes cash or credit card, but you can also go ahead and purchase a commuter meal plan if you're planning on eating on campus quite often. And that is, there are 3 different ones. You can sign up for them now, and they can be part of your university bill, so your financial aid can go into taking care of those for you. Or, you know, let's say a month goes down the road and you're like, wow, I'm eating on campus way more than what I thought. You can purchase them at that time as well. They won't run out until the academic, or they won't expire until the academic year is over. So it might be just a cool opportunity for you to just go ahead and get that meal plan and put it on your university bill when the time comes. But the dining hall is one of many places. There are quite a few opportunities to get your food and bev. One of them is our fully functioning Starbucks, which is in the first floor of our library. And we all like to go there in the morning or the afternoon, or, you know, whenever we want. So you might be seeing us all there and getting our little happy hour beverage at Starbucks. So these are just a few of the places that you could look into. And then Amy's going to talk a little bit about some of our other food resources we have on campus.
Great, thanks, Jessica. Gosh, that Starbucks sounds really good right now. So as I mentioned at the beginning of this presentation, I was sharing how the CARE office, we provide information on a variety of topics, such as where to eat on campus, but that we also provide wraparound services for students who might be facing a particular issue. And one of those ways that we help students is through the mobile food pantry. So it's not uncommon as a student to have your budget be kind of tight. And to help with that, we have a monthly food truck that comes to campus that provides fruits and vegetables for our students. And so we want to make sure that you're aware that that resource is available. And during times like now, where it's just the world's a little bit upside down with COVID, we try to keep our resources really current. So even though we're not on campus right now, we make sure that our students know that they're still cared for and that they're resources that we're trying to connect them with. So if you're able to join us in the fall, we'd love to have you at TWU, and the mobile food pantry is definitely a resource for you to consider. So now, thinking about coming in the fall, I want to shift gears and talk about transportation. So here we are with another question. Get your fingers ready for the chat. Okay, out there, I want to know which one of you thinks you'll be commuting the furthest distance. So please type in the chat box where you're going to be coming in from when you commute to campus in the fall. And let's just see where y'all are coming from. Carrollton, that's a good commute. McKinney, wow, yes. Flower Mound, Addison, Fort Worth, excellent, great. Thank you all for sharing where you're going to be coming from. So for those of you coming from Dallas, you can see, Jessica, if you'll click the next slide for me. Thank you. One of your options is the DCTA A train. So this is operated by the Denton County Transportation Authority. However, even though the university does not operate it, DCTA does offer discounts for TWU students. So once you're enrolled at TWU, if this is something you're interested in, definitely keep that in mind. And our office can provide additional information if you want to learn, well, how does this commute work and all that sort of thing. If you're a first-year student at orientation, we can share that with you. And for transfer students, we're available by phone or email or on the website. We can help you with that. But one main thing that I think is helpful to know, if you're trying to figure out how to map your route using public transportation, there is some public transportation in the Fort Worth and McKinney area. It just is not as direct as coming from Dallas, but no matter where you live, this is a really cool tip. So if you go into Google Maps, which everybody's probably used 1,000 times figuring out how to get somewhere from A to B in your car, you may have never noticed that at the top, you can, yes, thank you, where Jessica's showing, you can click the little image of a bus, and that will actually automatically route your trip via public transportation. So that's a super handy little tip if you want to kind of check out what your options are for getting to Denton and around Denton using public transportation. So speaking about getting around Denton, let's talk about parking, which I love that picture because that is exactly the kind of parker I was when I was learning to drive. All right, so let's look at the Denton campus. So whether you're coming to our Dallas campus or our Denton campus, you will be required to have a permit. The main thing you need to know at this point is that our whole parking system and how it all works, that is operated and regulated by our Department of Public Safety. And I'm going to be talking a little bit more about our police department here in a second. Mainly at this point, I just want you to know when we're closer to fall and it's time to be thinking about those permits, you'll get information about that either if you come to orientation. So transfer students, if you come to orientation, and first-year students will definitely see you at orientation since it's required for first-year students. We'll go into more detail about parking. The main thing I want you to know now is that it's operated by our Department of Public Safety, or DPS. So the other thing that might be helpful, especially for transfer students, because you probably have questions about parking just because you've had experiences parking at the campus where you currently attend or have attended. So right now we have a color-coded system, and at just a quick glance, you can see that the majority of parking is maroon, which is awesome because that's one of our school colors. And maroon, those lots represent our majority, which is you, our off-campus students. Just as Jessica mentioned earlier, all of you are in the majority, so most of the parking is available for you, and that's what you see in maroon. Those lots are shared by faculty and staff and commuter students. So sometimes, now this is a little secret I'm going to let you in on, and I'm sure it won't come as any surprise, but sometimes there are times when campus is full and there aren't any spots. So then what? What is a person to do? What is a pioneer to do? Well, no worries. We have overflow parking, and you can find that on the website that says parking updates. And you can, we have free shuttles. And again, we'll go into greater detail at orientation or when it's time, gets closer to time for school to start. But really, I just want to leave with you now the understanding that there is a plan that it's not any, you don't have to worry about parking, in other words, is what I'm trying to say. And you can see here in the picture, that actually is showing you over 700 parking spots. So our remote parking works really well. And we can take questions about that at the end, or also just remember, school isn't starting for a while, so there's time for you to get back in touch with us closer to the start, and we can go over more of these details if you're interested. So I did mention the police department a little bit ago. So here, one more question. Get your fingers ready for the chat. True or false? TWU is one of the top 50 safest campuses in the entire country. True or false? Clarissa, awesome. Yes, I can tell you're such smart pioneers. Yes, 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 it's true. And maybe that was one of the deciding factors for why you were interested in TWU. Certainly as an employee, it's something that I really appreciate, that we all work hard to keep our campus safe, and it's important to all of us. So this is what our Department of Public Safety, as I mentioned earlier, the shorthand for that is DPS. So these officers are actually all police officers, and they are on campus every single day, every single hour, all year long. And so while their #1 commitment is to campus safety, and clearly they're doing a good job at that, they also are here as a resource. So I just want to point that out early on, that if you ever have questions of something you're not sure about in terms of safety or parking, don't hesitate to reach out to our great police department team. So one of the ways that our campus is safe is that we have, now get ready because this is a very complicated term, but we have what we call blue light security poles. I know that's really tricky. It's probably tricky because my accent, the way I say poles, it doesn't sound like how people say it here, but I've worked on it for 2 decades and that's as good as it's gonna get, so hang with me. So those blue light poles are all across campus where you can hit the button if you're feeling unsafe, and dispatch will immediately send an officer to your assistance, as well as those red telephones that are in every building. And you can see on the screen where that's a screenshot of when, if you're accepted to TWU and when you register, you'll have an opportunity to provide emergency contact information through what we call our Pioneer Alert system. And this is really important because the very best emergency that any of us can experience, 2 words, snow day. That's right, snow day. So if you want to be the first to be in the know about snow days, you need to be on Pioneer Alert. And speaking of that, we also have the bad weather line on there, which is a dedicated line for if you want to know about weather. So on that Pioneer Alert, you can actually put anyone's number. It's completely private. We don't use those numbers for anything. And so if you want your family to know when there's going to be a snow day or if there's something else happening on campus, you are free to do so. So speaking of family, I want to shift to talking about programs we do specifically for families. So I want to begin with a little brag. We are #1 in the country for public universities for our services for students with children. So if any of you joining us today have kiddos, here are just a few highlights of some of the things that we do for families. We have a holiday gift program where we match donors and students for gifts. We do a special graduation ceremony. And the last bullet on there says student legal services. That's actually a service available to all students, whether you have children or not, where you can get free legal counsel. So I just wanted to highlight a few of those. The last thing on this topic that I want to talk about is childcare services. So if any of you have children, you might be happy to hear that we actually have a special grant that helps subsidize the cost of childcare if you qualify for it. We have a student organization, and you can see all the things on that list. But the most important thing you need to know, whether you have children or not, is about the picture on this slide. So this is probably, in all my years at TWU, one of my most favorite pictures. The owl that you see there is our new mascot named Oakley. And transfer students and first-year students at orientation, and when you come in the fall at Pioneer Camp, you'll learn more about Oakley and why Oakley has that name. Featured in that photo is a transfer student, actually, Tristan, and she's there with her sweet little daughter who's only about 9 months old in that picture. And here's what's so amazing. Her daughter's name, Oakley, and she named her after Annie Oakley because she wanted her to have a model of a strong pioneer woman. And so this is when baby Oakley met TWU Oakley. How awesome was that? So we wanted to share that with you. And with that, this is the perfect time for me to hand it back over to Jessica as a double pioneer for her to share about being a pioneer.
Yes, woohoo, go Pioneers. Okay, so I just have to say that one of the reasons why I love Texas Women's University so much is because I took the opportunity as a student to get involved in organizations. The leadership opportunities that I had and the way that I was able to engage and connect with others outside of the classroom really just made the difference for me because I got connected to TWU's super supportive and warm culture of caring, and then I was able to contribute to that. And so I'm saying all of this because all of you have that opportunity too. So I want to share a couple of opportunities that I have that we help with in our office, and that is both for first-year students and transfer students. So the first is our commuter learning community. This is for all of you first-year students who are coming. This community is, it has been adapted from a living learning community model that we have here at Texas Women's and really all over the country, where students who are part of these programs, they will live together and then they also go to classes together, and so they have built-in time together. Well, as we've said many times already, commuters here are the majority, and so Texas Women's really saw the need to develop and adapt this learning community option for commuters. And we have won national awards for it, and so we're really proud of this model, and we're proud that we have been able to do this for quite some time now for all of you first-year commuter students. So one of the things that I really want you to hear from me today is that this is a great option for you to be able to take at least 2 classes, 2 core curriculum classes that all of you need with other students that are in the same situation as you, being commuters and living off campus. And so you're able to see familiar faces in your classes often and having more frequent individualized interaction with your faculty. Students who are in these classes tend to have higher GPAs and they tend to make friends faster. And so this is a first come, first serve basis, and we just want you to know about it. So if this is something that you're interested in, let us know and we'll get you connected to where you need to go so you can complete your application to be part of this program. So first year students, Commuter LC, remember that and ask us if you have questions about it, okay? For my transfer students, we have a few other things that are all advised by members in our office. 2 of them are honor societies. One is Alpha Sigma Lambda. I advise that honor society, and it's for students who are non-traditional students, meaning adult learners or coming to school a little bit later in life. This is a national organization, and we are a chapter within that. And it is for our people to be recognized for being an adult learner and having really high academic excellence. And so that is something to look forward to, as well as Epsilon Omega Epsilon. That is an honor society that was founded here at Texas Women's. Amy is actually one of the founders of this organization, and I am the advisor of that, and it is for our online students. Alpha Sigma Lambda is for undergraduate students only, and then EOE is both for undergrad and graduate students, so long as you're part of an online program. And both of these require you to be at TWU for a little while. So this is just me planting the seed for all of you for whenever you get your invitations to know that this is a really cool cause and a way to be recognized, and we hope that you're part of these one day. The other couple of organizations that we have are Student Veterans Association, who Amy is an advisor of that org. And I think that we have a strong commitment to our veteran population here at Texas Women's, and this is just one of the ways that we can highlight that. The Student Veterans Association, they are an active organization on campus, and our veterans also have a brand new vet lounge in our brand new student union at Hubbard Hall. So whenever the time comes and you can come to the Denton campus and see it, we're excited for you to see that and all the work that we put into making that a home for all of our veterans and military affiliated students. But the SVA is another place that might be interesting to you as a student who has a military affiliation or an interest. And then finally, Student Pioneers Also Raising Kids, that is Spark. I am the advisor of Spark, and that is for students who have children. And I really love the mission of Spark and how it aligns with the TWU's purpose of educate a woman, empower the world. Really, I think that Spark, it is a place of support and I think positivity and motivation to keep going whenever students who have kids, sometimes it's hard to find your other mom or dad friends, and this is one of the ways that we have to offer to reach out to you to get involved. So this is just a sneak peek of what all of these things are that we advise in our office, but this is just one of many. So I just want you to know that there are many ways to get involved and hit that culture of caring that I've talked about. And Amy, I'm going to let you finish it off with the last couple of points.
Great, thank you, Jessica. I love that sneak peek, that's good. So I want to end with this quote from one of a dear transfer student, Randall. So I got to meet Randall when he transferred to TWU. He actually transferred from the University of New Mexico, where he played football, and came to TWU, and he had just the most incredible experience. What you can see in this photo that's him on his intramural team. So our Fit and Rec Center offers tons of intramurals, whether like this is flag football, they were the champions, but they also offer, if you just want to do, you don't want to do a whole season of a sport, they also offer things that are one-time events in intramurals. For example, you can actually be in a battleship competition. If you've ever played the board game Battleship, they have, they put kayaks, or excuse me, they put canoes in our indoor pool, and then you're put on a team or you create a team and you have to sink someone else's battleship. It's a ton of fun. Anyway, I'm sharing this concluding quote from Randall because I think it just speaks so well to his experience. So he shares that being a transfer student at TWU has opened doors of opportunity and success for me. It has given me a place to call home, and I will always be a proud member of the TWU Pioneer family. And I just love that he shared that. And I think our first year students have had that experience as well. And so with that, that concludes our overview of what the CARE office can do for off-campus students and non-traditional students, transfer students. And at this point, we will take any questions that may have come up in the chat. Or if you want to add a question now, we're ready. We're ready. So while we're waiting for questions, one thing I want to clarify, especially for transfer students, is talking about the housing requirement. Do you know how much parking permits are, Sarah? Sarah, that's a great question. I actually don't know. So how's that? You asked me a question and I'm giving you a very good answer, but it's the honest answer. So what happens every August is the information about permits is released in August. And so that's when, for us as employees, that's when we find out the cost of ours, and for students as well. When it is time, you'll get an email. So one quick comment I want to make about that. It's really important to use your TWU email that's the main way the university has of communicating with you. So you'll receive an email that those permits are available for purchase, and you simply go online, and it's really pretty easy to do it. When you go online, they sell you the only kind that are available for you. So for example, since none of you are going to live on campus, you're going to be sold the commuter permit, and then you pay for it online and they mail it to you. So they come in the mail really pretty fast, within just a few days. But in the meantime, you print your receipt and use that as your permit until you receive your actual permit in the mail. And the one more thing I want to say about the permits, one thing that I really like about our system is that the parking permit is assigned to you as an individual. So for example, if you sometimes drive someone else's car, then you can just peel that permit off and put it on whatever car you're driving that day. So it works pretty well. But good questions. I know we get a lot of questions about parking, and we are definitely available to answer those. Sometimes it's a little easier when we get closer to fall because it's hard to remember all of the details. So what is the distance between family housing and the school? I love that commercial. I love that question also. Family housing is actually on campus, and that's what's so cool about it. So we are one of the first universities in Texas to even offer on-campus family housing. It's when you look at the map of the university, it's right by the library. That's the closest building that the family housing is located next to, but it's right on campus. So if you look on the university map, it's called Lowry, L-O-W-R-Y, Woods. Lowry Woods is where our family housing is. For those of you who are interested in family housing, here's an insider tip. As soon as you are accepted to TWU, immediately apply for housing. Family housing is very popular, and it's first come, first serve. Thank you, Jessica. So you want to apply for family housing as soon as you're accepted, and you can't apply for it until you are an accepted student. But it's a really cool benefit that we have. We have a playground and a community center. So it's a nice feature. Plus, that part of campus is where we have our gardens with turtles, and so it's a neat place for a family. The deadline for housing, actually, I don't know, can someone from admissions weigh in on that, on the deadline for housing? So if you're talking about family housing, that's ongoing because family housing is different than student housing. So if you're asking for family housing, there's no deadline. You just apply as soon as you're interested in it, and then when there's an opening, then they work in a space. Great, and that's a good reminder that housing has a presentation tomorrow at 3. So I did want to say one thing about housing for transfer students. One thing I want to make clear is if you are over 21 or you are transferring in over 60 credit hours, you don't have to worry about that form Jessica talked about earlier. It's only for the people under that. So hopefully that helps clarify that. But our awesome admissions staff can always clarify that if you have questions, or you can call the housing department directly and they can answer those questions as well. Good questions. Do we have any other questions or thoughts? Anything you're excited about that you're looking forward to coming to school to experience? We can't wait to have you back on campus. We can't wait to be back on campus. What are some of the common issues commuters students have when they start school? Well, I think the first issue is just navigating campus in general. If you have never been to our campus before, it's a beautiful campus. I mean, it's like a park. I feel so lucky that I get to work there. And it's also at a time when we're really fortunate that we're able to do a lot of construction of new buildings or remodeling older buildings. So our campus is really, almost every single building is state of the art. But while all that's going on, you have to deal with construction a little bit on campus. So I think the number one, or the first thing commuter students have to learn is how to get around campus. But we have a plan for that. So the first week of school, Jessica and myself and other people volunteer. We're in every parking lot Monday through Thursday, that first week in the morning, providing directions, answering questions. And on top of that, every building, there's an information table that first week of school, all day, every day, helping answer questions and guide people around. So we recognize that the first issue is getting around campus, but we have a good way to help with that. And in terms of living and roommates, transportation discounts, so living, definitely check out our off-campus housing. Just Google that on the website. What's cool is that when you get into that website, you're connected only with other TWU students. So if you don't really want to look for a place to live, you'd rather just look for a roommate, that's a great place to do it because you're going to be connected only with other TWU people. And then transportation, the primary discount is offered through DCTA, which is called the University Pass. So that's a great way to, if you're going to be using public transit, to look for a discount. All of those things though, let's see, you have to have a portal account. So you have to be part of TWU to be able to access. So I know we've been talking about, there's the link, great. We've been talking about different tips and tricks and how to get around. One of my tips I would suggest is for transfer students, really think about attending transfer orientation because we'll go deeper into a lot of these topics that we think you'll find helpful. But if for some reason you cannot attend orientation, you can certainly seek us out. We work year-round, so we're here to help. For foster and adopted children, that's a great question. Thank you. So we have a special program called the Frontiers Program. So if you have experienced foster care or if you were adopted, we have a program that helps you if you qualify for the tuition waiver and also maybe some other benefits that might be available to you and a student organization so that you can be a part of an organization with people who have similar experiences to you. Very good questions. Keeping us on our toes this morning, Jessica, or afternoon, I should say. Now it's afternoon. Okay, for parents. So if you have kids, I think definitely check in with our office. We would love to make sure that you know of all the different resources available for you. But I guess the first thing I would say is to, gosh, it's so hard. There's so many great places to start with that. I guess the first thing I would say is to recognize, to give yourself a pat on the back that it is not easy being a parent and a scholar, that at TWU you will be successful, but just even getting this far, I mean, especially now with being home with kids and trying to do all of it, it's a little bit overwhelming. So we just really first start by recognizing that it takes something to go to school and have kids, and that you need to give yourself some credit for that. So then after that, joining Spark is awesome. As Jessica said, she's the advisor for that group. Besides meeting other parents and having that social support, it's also a good way to get the shortcuts on campus to find out, okay, hey, you know, this time of day, I sometimes need to bring my kids with me to campus to study. Where do you think that's the best you know, where do you recommend talking to other students? Where are the places that you think are easiest to be with your kids, where they can be entertained and you can still study? So those sorts of things, connecting with peers. Then the third thing is using university resources. Sometimes students can be shy about reaching out for help or feeling like, oh, I don't have time, or this feels a little awkward. You know, all of us, whether we're staff or faculty, are here for students. So definitely take advantage of those resources and ask for help, or just even introduce yourself and let people know, hey, I'm a student and I have kids, you know, what are your recommendations for me? And I think that you'll get some personalized attention that you'll find really helpful. But using those resources, I think, is number one, and giving yourself just some space to recognize it's tough, but it can definitely be done. Our students with children are successful. So one of the things I mentioned briefly is that we have a grant that helps underwrite the cost of childcare. Check that out. If you have kids in childcare, we, depending on if you qualify, we might be able to cover up to 60% of the cost of your childcare. So again, use your resources.
Amy, we got a question about what is the estimated amount to live off campus when you're living with a roommate going through these services?
Let's see, I think that is on the financial aids page, isn't it, Jessica,
Yes.
where it has the estimated cost? So maybe we can pull that up and share that. It's great to have a colleague who can share these things on her speedy 2 screens.
Amy,
Yes.
Christy mentioned that the library is a great place that she actually brings her kids during the
Yep.
summer when she
Yeah.
studies.
Yeah.
And we have a large children's section there.
Yes, that's a great suggestion. Also, the university operates an after-school program. So if you have, if you live in the Denton area and you have children that are school age, they actually will pick them up from school and bring them to campus. And in the summer, that program is all day. So that's another great resource where your kiddos can actually be on campus, but they can be doing all kinds of enrichment activities while you're studying, or, you know, using other resources that the university has, like the gym and the library and tutoring, all those things while your kids are doing something that's more fun for them, like swimming.
Oh, I have another question. Students taking mostly or all online classes, are they considered commuters, and can they still take advantage of campus resources, yours included?
Yes. So commuter really means anyone not living in university housing. It's just kind of a nice shorthand, so just instead of saying not living in university housing. So as an online student, yes, you're paying fees that make this all available for you as well. So that's a great question.
And what about after hours services, childcare services?
Right. So I'm not sure about next year, but I know this year we had a pilot project that went very well, where we had after hours drop-in care for school-age children, and it was completely free. Now, I don't know for sure about next year yet, but that pilot did go very well this past year. And that's the other thing I want to point out, is that TWU is a really responsive institution. So if students say, listen, we need different hours. For example, years ago when I first started at TWU, students said, you know, we need to be at the library later at night. And so you know what the library did? They extended their hours so that they were open to, at the time that students want, so that your student voice is really heard. And veterans should consider TWU. We're a military-friendly institution. A lot of universities say that. It's actually embedded in our strategic plan. Our leadership has a huge commitment to it. So we have, I think, a very strong collaboration across campus, making sure that our veterans are getting the service that they need. Everything from that their benefits operate smoothly to we have a really active student organization. Jessica mentioned that there's dedicated space on campus in our brand new union that's just for these students, where they before we took the COVID break that we're on, they were really enjoying having that time where there's a refrigerator and a microwave, of course a coffee maker. If you're a veteran, coffee is very important to you. And so they just really felt connected there.
So I have 2 questions that are at the end. I think we could probably answer them together, is talking about ways to feel connected for transfers and commuter students. And are there any specific events or programs that we offer throughout the year that you'd like to highlight?
Okay, I will jump in on that, and then feel free if you have anything that you want to add to that, Jessica, because I know that's your runway. You run a lot of our programs. So we do have programs specifically for transfer students. We do a big event in the spring as part of National Transfer Student Appreciation, because we also know it's a different experience to start somewhere and transfer. It's you are in the majority. We have more students who start and transfer. Our first year students, I think, have a fantastic experience coming as new students and going through our orientation program and that sort of thing. But for transfer students, most of you jump right into your program. So it's a slightly different pathway to becoming a pioneer. And so we really celebrate that it takes, some really thoughtful decision making to come to that, And so we do a big thing for National Transfer Student Appreciation. Also, our faculty are really proud to be transfer students. And so a lot of them around that time will wear buttons letting you know, like, hey, I'm a transfer student. Hug a transfer student. I mean, we don't really hug transfer students, do we, Jessica? In our hearts, we do. But the main thing I want to say is, listen, every program that we do on campus is open to all students. And so when you see big events happening on campus, they're open for first year students, for transfer students, for graduate students. And we try to plan them at times that are going to make it easier for you to participate. So whether it's our big block party that kicks off the fall semester, or if it's a big event we have in the spring, it's a concert, or we bring in a big speaker, these events are for all students. But having said that, we do a few that we, while they're open to all students, we really want to celebrate our transfer students in particular as part of a National Transfer Student Appreciation Week. What would you add to that, Jessica?
I think that you hit a lot of the points, and I think that for most of what you're saying, you can almost interchange transfer with commuter on the wanting to feel connected and being able to go to any programs or events or services. I mean, they are for all students that are here at Texas Women's. And so we have a few signature programs, like we do a big picnic lunch in the fall, and like just wanting you to know that we care and we appreciate you. And then we also do more individualized care in our office whenever it comes to financial wellness programming or connecting with you and making sure that you have what you need to be successful as a student. That's really where our programming focus is, and what we want for all of you here at Texas Women's is to be successful, be pioneers, and graduate.
Yeah, we haven't mentioned, we have a really neat space in our brand new union for commuters. And that is we have a lounge in the union that's only for commuters. And what's super special about that is that it has a microwave and its own refrigerator. And that is a very popular, the microwave is very popular because a lot of people pack their lunch. And that space is only for commuter students. So I think it's the university's way of saying that you're important to us. And we also know you don't have a dorm room that you're going to between classes. And so we want you to have a space that you know is yours where you can hang out on maybe during some of your downtime between classes.
Well, Amy and Jessica, that's wonderful information, and we really appreciate it. Do we have any last minute questions? I'm not seeing any that automatically pop up, but we thank you so much for your time. And for those who are still with us, just know that the rest of the week we will have some other sessions. Housing came up a few times. Their session is at 3 o'clock tomorrow. Also our athletics, our fitness and recreation, our counseling services. So continue to check the website for those additional student service presentations. And we thank you all so much for joining us today. And thank you, Amy and Jessica, for your information.
Bye.
Thanks, y'all. Bye.
Bye.